Welcome back, my gardening friends. Well, did my temporary compost bins work? I saw this on another channel. I put leaves around the outside to help suppress the weeds while we were doing this. I've just noticed a little tiger slug, and he's beneficial. He'll help out. And we put these here on top of one of the old beds, mainly because of my cold composting bin. I stopped putting the material in so that I didn't have to take the material that hadn't broken down away or on a pile on the floor while I harvested the worm castings and everything else over the last 12 months that has been in that worm bin. And I was pleasantly surprised with the other pallet collar one. So we did 3 high, kept dumping all the stuff in. The stuff in the worm bin settled down. Worms at the rats disappeared, but they ended up over here. That's the only trouble with having a compost bin with fresh stuff in. The rats will pop over, but they do turn the material. So I'm going to remove some of this so that we don't bore you completely. I'll remove the leaves, then the cardboard, and then we'll take the first pallet collar off. Well, I wasn't expecting that this morning, but looks like we've got a wasp nest in there, so I've got to be cautious because I am allergic. So let's see if we can get rid. Right, we'll try again. I've done a few other little jobs while I've waited for the kettle to boil. Right, I'll just sift some more of the thicker stuff out, the stuff that's got to go back into the compost bin. Well, that looks nice stuff. I'll just lift you off the tripod. Lots and lots of creatures, lots and lots of worms. Some I think got a little bit warm, so my apologies to a few of the worms there. But really pleased with that. We'll delve down a little bit deeper. We'll take another pallet collar off. Tell you something, it's really worth doing. You know, I cover my beds with compost and cardboard to protect the surface, then take the cardboard off, let any oh come on, it's very early. I let all the weeds germinate, then we pull them out or hoe them surface level, and wow, look at that. Right, let's get the other pallet collar off if I can. And I have got incoming wasps looking for their nest. As you can see now, the sun's coming up. These pallet collars weren't lined. They were pallet collars that I deemed not suitable for what I want. So I'm just going to sift through it now. We've got a lot of strawberries in here. And as you know, those roots do take a bit to break down, so they'll go back in the cold composting bin. And this material can go into the new beds. There's all sorts gone in here. Not too fussed just lately. Everything goes in. What breaks down, breaks down. Different layers of cardboard where we've just where it's broke down a lot and then we've just buried it. I'm hoping you can see what we've got there, and this can be buried in some of the new beds that I'm constructing just at the moment. Again, the last of the soil from around the roots of the strawberries. No, that's certainly nice stuff. We'll bring you back when we're done. Well, some things go good, some things go bad, but this is one of the good experiences I've had over 2022-23 of the winter, creating this. Really pleased, and definitely do it again. And the pallet collars I'll put to one side, and yes, some of them are gone a little bit rotten, but they were on the older side. But ideal for this situation to build, fill and dismantle again. And there's a fair old few litres there, and we've took one full one, and what we've got there of material we hadn't used, which was mostly the cardboard, and most of that in there is the roots from the strawberry plants, so it'll be interesting to see how they look after another 12 months in with the worms. I'm pretty proud of my achievements over 2022-23. We built all these new pallet collar beds, created these wick systems here into the barrels, and I'm really happy with those. Some of the seeds haven't germinated, but I can now throw those packets away. The wildflower wildlife garden used to extend right down to the blue barrels, and we've created all these pallet collar beds. We've collected materials and filled them up, 9 in total. These beds here, I think we did those over 2022. A little bit of weeding to do. 2 more beds to fill. This one's now full. We've still got some homemade compost there, some of the surplus soil from the wildflower wildlife garden. Compost bins filling up, and that will keep settling and dribbling out all the juices that we can use as an activator. On my leaf mould, this is what we collected in 2022. This is what we collected in 2021 that we moved from this side to the other side, and we collected less bags in 2022. And how do we fill the beds? Well, we keep collecting and finding the compost. And 2022, so we collected from there to there. So nearly 10,000 litres I collected in 2022 up to the present date, which was April 23, the last count. Or should that have been May? No. No, it doesn't matter. What is the date? Nothing. Time flies by. The wick guttering system is now up and running. Got a few plants in here. Just need to see what we've got and what we haven't got. Where we need to put stuff. Find a space, put it in. And I've reduced the area of the rhubarb. So we've moved it all down. There's the soil from the rhubarb. There's one of the Vegega raised beds. Got to sort that out and get that fitted into here, and of course get it filled, which is time consuming, and still finding time to collect the manure. And the juices from that manure are now started to flow, which will end up in the manure runoff bin, and we use that at 10 to 1 on the live vegetables, but if it's a redundant bed, I'll put it in as a concentrate to rejuvenate all the compost that we find. And the manure that I had these 4 bags give me, because I swapped some Bocking 14 crown, or root shall we say, for a bit of manure. And I'm trying to use up all the last of the wood chips and any compost that we've got in those bins, and hopefully soon we'll get a new plot neighbour if anybody really wants to take it on. I hope so, as I'm going to have a grass field on my plot. Still have some leaf mould that we harvested. I presume that was from 2021 or 2020. Does it really matter? There's my homemade compost. So all the potato buckets you see now have got my homemade compost in. Everything goes into here, and as you can see, that's going down slowly. The compost with a perlite, I haven't touched that, but as you can see now, I'm robbing the cocoa coir to mulch as much as I can. I've got to put a row of radishes in there, then I can top that up. Cocoa coir on those, and as you'll have noticed, the blue barrels have gone, and the Vegega raised beds are in here. That was a task and a half as well. We've already mentioned that these wicking systems are brilliant, and all these now are topped up. We've got some red iceberg lettuce in there. I've given plenty of space to grow. Remember, the more space you give your plants, the better they will grow. And hopefully you can see that. They're the cobra, they're the starlet, and then Bill and Val's favourite, the Liberty. All I've done is place the seeds on top of the soil with the umbilical cord facing down, and they grow nicely. And my giant Karobi for the giant vegetable show. It's coming on nice. I'm glad I put one in the polytunnel. There again. How big's it gonna get? As you can see, that side, the leaves are getting damaged, and it's overshadowing some of the other giants. So if you're unsure which way to put your beans, just make sure you put that little black dot where it was connected to the long bean facing down, and then you won't get the root coming up and then down. If some rot, they rot. We don't care. That one's rotten. Put that on the floor. That one hasn't germinated yet, and ooh, look how long that taproot is. That's why we use the longer cardboard rolls. Won't need all of those, we'll just select the best. And as always, lots more planting to do, but my brassicas should do really well in that bed. All the juices will have flowed down in towards the bottom, and those cabbages will hopefully draw it all back up and give me a wonderful crop. I'm glad I did a second sowing of the silver skin pickling onions, because one or two have just died off. These are getting watered regular, and hopefully these will be my pickles for this time. Very diligent in looking out for black fly on the broad beans. If we see it, we'll take the tops out, but hopefully we'll get a few this time. And they're just starting to come up now. Oh, there we go. They don't take long, do they? What a beautiful morning. So I'll come up here at 6 and I'll leave about 8:30. It gets too warm for me. Somebody dropped some homemade canes. I think they must have a cane plant, whatever they call them. and they cut them down and drop them off at the allotment. I'll select a few. But hopefully all the beans will be growing lovely in here, and I might plant the sunflowers in the bottom one. Apparently you shouldn't put sunflowers around beans, etc. So I'm going to keep my giant sunflowers down that end. Need to mulch this up with a cocoa coir around the sweet corn, and you can see all the condensation, and that all runs down into there. So it's bone dry here, so hopefully the weeds won't grow there, and it'll keep the plants hydrated. I need to thin the parsnips today. I did this one in the last video, and I need to do the rest because they need to be opened up now, because if they get too tall they'll flop over. If you like the content, please give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, we don't mind, all for the interaction. Leave me a comment, and why not consider subscribing. Happy gardening to you all. Till next time, my friends. Ta-ra for now.